Hi everyone, we're going to talk about lot splits today. So if you are in a competitive market like this one where there are multiple offers being made and you're getting beat out of properties and you're trying to get a little bit more creative, this might be a good way to go. A lot split is basically where you have a property that you're purchasing. Maybe you're already planning to flip that property, but it comes on a larger lot. I do searches like parcel split, split available, administrative split, and I can usually find some of these. You don't come by them all the time, but this means that the city has already approved a split on the property. Always do your due diligence. Always look into it more and check with the title company and make sure that it's a legal split and everything before you make the offer. Also, always check the laws in your state to make sure that they apply to what I'm saying here. So essentially what you're doing is you're purchasing a property that may or may not have a house on one side, and then it's got extra space over here that you can split and sell off to another buyer. So one of the things you could do is purchase it, do the lot split, sell the land, put the money from the land into the house, and then sell the house for much more and come out ahead. It might have a 0.9 acre lot. That 0.9 acres is going to be somewhat valuable to the property, but it might not be that much more valuable than a 0.5. And if you could keep the house on a 0.5 and sell the 0.4 as its own property, then this might be an additional $80,000 that you make, as opposed to what would have maybe given it 5 or 10,000 more in value being attached to the property, if that makes sense. So the best and worst deals I ever did were on lot splits. I'm going to tell you about both because we should always share our mistakes to help other people. I purchased one of these, and it was actually a house on 1 acre, and it was attached to a school building on 1 acre. The house included a barn, a fence, some pretty nice items that I liked, and I wanted to live there. And what I did is essentially sold this acre off. But in my case, because I was living there, I actually got the loan on the house and acre. So what I did, they were asking $270. They might have been asking $290. I probably paid less because I always pay less for a home. So I might have offered them $270, and they accepted it. But I said in the offer that I wanted this lot to be sold separately from this lot. I wanted them to split it prior to purchase, buy them contingent on each other so that they knew I wasn't going to walk away from one or the other. And I wanted to buy this lot for $1. And they said, hey, okay, as long as we get our money that we're asking out of it, we're happy to do whatever you want, you know. So we had to make sure that this appraised at what the loan amount was, and it did. Got a dumpster, put it outside of the school building. It actually had been turned into an apartment building at one point, and then there was a fire in there, so it had a lot of garbage. I took all the garbage and threw it into the dumpster, turned around and listed that. Actually, I sold it at auction. I wasn't a realtor at the time, and I sold it at auction, and I got about $70,000 for it. That was a great deal. I walked away with $70K. I didn't have to put it back into the loan. That's why I split it ahead of time. If I could have still sold it, but I would have had to pay it toward the loan if I hadn't had it split prior to purchase. So I did it that way, and it worked out great. Another time that it didn't work out so great, well, first I was talking to some sellers who said that they owned a house on 2 city lots, and I got really excited because I thought I could do the same thing there that I had done here. But it turned out here is the lot and here is the house. So as you can see, it's going over the line. Maybe you can't see this terrible drawing. It actually encroached up onto the other lot. So we couldn't sell the lot separately. It was still a great deal. Still was a very, very good investment, but not the same investment that I had envisioned prior to looking at the property. So always make sure that if it does have a split available or is on 2 lots, that it's not encumbering the other lot in any way. A deal that I did was a 60-acre lot, and the sellers didn't know much about the area but they were selling it anyway. They were kind of ignorant. They put it on a rinky-dink website that nobody saw except I happened to stumble across it. I saw what a great deal it was. It was listed at $120,000, which even back then, 10 years ago, was quite quite a good price on a 60-acre lot. What the sellers didn't know is that there was a resort going in, big time resort going in, pretty close by. They hadn't done any research. They didn't have a realtor. They were selling it for sale by owner. Kind of a mistake that I've talked about earlier. There was a road that was going to be built to that resort, and what I looked at is prime development property here. So I contacted a developer. He came over to my house. He offered me $250,000. I said, not only do I want the money, but I would like one of those 3-acre parcels once it's developed. And he said, done. So he was going to turn around and double my money. Of course, he didn't know how much I had paid. And he was going to give me a 3-acre lot near a resort. Of course, everybody's happy with this deal. The unfortunate thing that I didn't do is the sellers had cattle on it, or they had leased it out for cattle, and they had hundreds of cattle. And they asked if they could just keep the cattle there until the land was developed. We thought, hey, it's not hurting anybody, and I don't want to deal with cattle, so go do your thing. That's fine. We let the cattle stay. We had an outgo, a monthly outgo. We had a partner who was supposed to be helping pay the monthly fees, and they didn't. They didn't make a single payment. So we were stuck with that entire payment. I say we because I was married then. And so now we have this extra payment added to our outgo every month. And we had nothing coming in to support that from this deal. They were running cattle on it. What we should have done in retrospect is we should have said, hey, what if we ran the cattle on it and then the land is paying for itself? But instead we just said we don't want to deal with cattle, and we end up with this. Fine so far. Hey, we're doubling our money. We can make these $600 payments for 5 or 6 months, which is what we did. We kept it for a little while until this resort was almost done. Then this guy called us, and the developer, and he said that the market was turning. He said, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I'm going to have to back out. And he turned around and walked. And this guy, this is when the big market crashed, this guy left too. So we no longer had this resort coming in. We no longer had the highway coming in now that the resort wasn't going in. And suddenly we have this large parcel that would still be worth something if we had waited a little while for the market to pick up. But we have this monthly outgo. And it was an owner carry. We were making payments to these guys. They had their cattle on it. We hadn't made any kind of arrangements to lease that out. So instead of getting income from the property, we had outgo. And that's always a mistake. Don't ever buy something that you can't rent or lease out. That was what we did wrong. I mean, we had a little bit in savings to make the payments every month, but when it came down to it, now the market has turned, and we're not going to just hold on to it for another 3 or 4 years before the value goes back up and hope that something else goes in there. It was a raw deal. We ended up giving it back to the original sellers, and they kept it, and I think they were pretty happy because they got our down payment and the land back. Bad, terrible. And if I would have known what I know now, I would never have gone in with a partner who wasn't going to make payments. I would never have purchased something that I could not lease. So those are some things to know. If you're going to do a lot split, you can do a search. You or your realtor can do a search and find those, and sometimes they can end up being a pretty good deal. Make sure that your house that you're getting is also that it can comp out on just the portion that you're going to sell. You know, you don't want to have it overpriced and then try to sell off the land, because then you won't make any money or you'll break even, and that's no good either. So I think that's it on lot splits and parcel splits, and have a great day.